Dajon Owens, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated and least talked about American all-star level player in the whole of the ELF. He's just re-signed to his second season in Cologne. For some reason, it feels like people don't really treat him the same level as they do a Seo Beard, Ken Hike Jr., Divine Buckram. But after studying every game this season of his, he's definitely a level of all-star that should be more appreciated. And then you look at the guys he's played against this season: Harlan Kofi, Willie Patterson, and Antti Mahonu and Orion Fire, Nico Straman, Malik Stanley, Kyle Sweet, Florian LaRose, Reese Horn. Like, these guys are, some of these have touched the NFL. Some of these guys have been in the XFL. You know, these are elite level guys that he's going up against. And it's not just receivers with no QBs. You know, Jadrian Clark, Zach Edwards, Jacob Sullivan. These are all all-star level quarterbacks, and he played them all twice. So, as far as a gauntlet goes, it's not even close compared to like other DBs. You know, some people would have. He had some easier games, maybe against like Prague, but even still, they had some pretty talented players as well. So he has been following these Americans and occasionally on the Europeans, and he's done quite an interesting job. As far as skill set, Owens is twitchy, he's aggressive. You can play in man and zone coverage, which is super valuable. He usually trails the American corner on either side of the corner, which is another underappreciated, but you know, it's kind of expected of a corner. But when they can do it, it is helpful. They complete either boundary. He is active on his hand placement. You know, he's always on the hip of the receiver, diverging them inside, controlling their body, and just imposing himself on them. Ball skills, massive part of his game as well. 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. Some of these really do stand out more than others. Malik Stanley coming out on the screen, and him and Chad Walram punching out exactly at the same time. He is in the top echelon of DBs when it comes to ball skills. Punching the ball out for forced fumbles, ripping the ball out when the receiver's at the catch point, high pointing it and going up with the receiver in the air. Special teams plays, he's everywhere. He wants that ball more than a receiver sometimes. And that is a part of his game that I think doesn't necessarily go up sharp in the stat sheet. He did have 8 pass breakups, but it's the aggression with the hands and the hand fighting when the ball's in the air that doesn't really come up on the stat sheets. So go back and look at his tape. He's all over him. Think about Dajon Owens, he is downloading information constantly. First game against Ryan Fire allows 122 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not a good game for Dajon, there's no sugarcoating it. Comes back in, allows 2 real catches and a flag for 50 yards, but overall 69 yards, 0 touchdowns on a Fire team that bullied everyone. Second example, Hamburg. Malik Stanley, he's on him all day. Literally, he's shadowing him. 61 yards on the first game, 0 in the second game. Locked him up completely. It's not uncommon. Game 1 against Paris, 35 yards allowed on Paris. Game 2, they didn't even look at him once. It's the most easy film study I've ever had to fucking do, because they never looked at him. Ever. There's a video, like, Zach looks at him, goes, nah, throws it the other way. Just avoids them, which is smart. Of course, no DB is perfect, and Dajon also has some things that he struggles with, as does every DB. In particular, physical receivers kind of extending their arms on him. Malik Stanley did have the success with this, especially on out routes. If he can be susceptible to physical guys. Like, he's about 6 foot, 195, so he's not a ginormous DB. And someone like Malik Stanley was able to kind of push him off and get a bit more physical with him, and Dajon couldn't fight through the contact to get to the receiver. Tackling is also fine. There are a few cases where he leads with the crown and with his helmet, which is, you know, not fundamental technique. But he's aggressive. He can come down and hit these screens and hit these short routes. It's just sometimes the tackling technique is reckless. It's probably the best way to put it. Trigger and speed also, I would say, not in the elite category. They're good, they're better than most Europeans. But as far as top level speed, I think he's probably a mid 4.5 to low 4.6 guy. That'd be what maybe a 4.58 to 4.63 probably, I'd say. So not elite speed, but does have some decent makeup speed. Dajon here, far side corner. He's on Antti Mahonu for this play. Comes in as a zone look, passes him over into the zone coverage, flips his hips to the tight end who's come across the field, makes an aggressive play on the ball, gets hands-on with the tight end. This play is super underrated in my opinion and just shows a good example of Dajon Owens' skill set. Overall, I talked to a bunch of people that played Dajon Owens and it all kind of had the same consensus. He's annoying as fuck to play against and they don't like playing against him in the best kind of way. So I'm excited to see what he does with Cologne this year. I think that he will be in an all-star discussion come the end of it. Whether or not Cologne are good or bad, he is a piece that they need to keep if they want to build anything in that defense. In my opinion, probably a top 3 corner in the whole league. And I think going forward, all-star selections, hopefully multiple seasons. I know for a fact he did get trialed in the UFL and in the CFL. So for him, it'd be great if he does get an opportunity to play over there. But for us European fans, we got to appreciate him and see him for what he is, which is an elite level American cornerback in the ELF. This will wrap up my return to scouting in this kind of like longer, more edited format. This was fucking to make because the ELF film is hard to get. It's not easy because screen recording it destroys the quality, and I had a lot of issues with finding the tape, recording it, and then the tape being awful. So that's hence the lack of good quality tape in this one. But if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe. We're not that far away from 1,000 subscribers. Share as well. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. I've got a lot of players that I want to do these kind of formatted scouting things on. So stay tuned for those. Much appreciated. Thank you everyone for supporting the videos. Till next time. Goodbye.